So, welcome to day one in sovereignty. And isn't that a funny word? Because a lot of people ask, kind of, what does that actually even mean? What does sovereignty mean to you? So, that is kind of how I want to start. So, for those of you that are watching this live, or if you're watching this on the replay, we've had some wonderful technical issues, which just adds to the whole subject that we're talking about all of this week is how to lead ourselves even through adversity and the challenges that come our way. So I would like to ask you, how do you start and intend to continue this week? Okay, what does sovereignty actually mean to you? Put it in the comments. And now that you know what the word means, I'm presuming you do, sovereignty actually, go look it up in a dictionary. So, sovereignty, because every second person was asking, what does sovereignty actually mean? So you're not alone. A lot of people ask me that question. It means to be able to lead ourselves. It means to be autonomous. It means to be the ones that are in charge of our own life rather than, let's say, looking for outside validation, rather than looking always outside of ourselves for what should we do? What's the right thing? What do I do now? Should I do this? Am I doing the right thing? Instead of constantly looking elsewhere, we're looking within. That's what sovereignty means. It means being able to lead ourselves rather than needing to be led by somebody else. Does that make sense? Tell me that that makes sense. So yes. So put it in the chat, put it in the comments, whether you're watching this with me live or on the replay, and tell me what would having self-sovereignty mean for you? What would that mean for you? What would that change for you? What would be the difference that that would have in your life? Right? So put that in the chat, being in control of your own life. Yes, yes, yes. You weren't sure what it meant. You weren't alone. So you're not the only one. So I love the word. I think it's a great sounding word, isn't it? It comes from being sovereign. It actually comes from being in charge and being wealthy and being the one in control of things and being the leader. So it's a great kind of strong word, isn't it? So I kind of really like it. So free of doubt, feel more connected to my true authentic self. I love that. I love that. I really like that. And making my own decisions instead of sitting back and trusting myself and not second guessing. Yes, to all of that. Well done, well done, well done. And if you haven't yet, do join the Facebook group, or you might be watching this in the Facebook group. And if you've seen, I've pinned one of the posts, and it's about putting it out there and really stepping forth and being accountable for how you intend to lead yourself. And it starts by actually writing it down and holding yourself accountable and putting it on paper, or metaphorically speaking on the computer, and speaking up and saying it in front of others and saying, yeah, this is what I want. That that has a lot of that has a lot of oomph. That has a lot of kudos. That carries a lot of weight. You know, for you psychologically, emotionally, and for the universe that's listening, it hears you when you call it in and when you say, yeah, this is what sovereignty means for me. Right. So I want to congratulate you. For those of you who are watching here live, well done. Well done. Yeah, being more confident with myself and my decisions. Yes, awesome. I love it. I love it. So that is what it's about. So I want to congratulate you because you are, as I always say it, and you really are, and it's not lip service. I say it every time. You're in the 1% of the 1%. Because most people don't do this stuff. Most people don't take an hour out of their precious day to really develop themselves. But you do. And do you know who else does? Successful people. People who have self-sovereignty. And self-sovereignty and success, we're not talking only financial success, although that might be part of it. Okay, that might be a big part of the stuff that you want. But we're talking about also the inside stuff, about you feeling fulfilled, about you feeling connected, about whatever success means to you. And I'd love to know, what does success actually mean to you? Does it mean feeling free? Does it mean feeling safe? Does it mean feeling at peace? Does it mean feeling really connected and grateful? Does it mean having lots of love in your life? Does it mean joy and laughter and fun? Does it mean having wealth and financial security? Does it mean having the ability to do whatever you want when you want? Does it mean the ability to touch people's lives and change people's lives and make a difference? What does success actually mean to you? Yeah. So I do want you to lead yourselves. I do now, obviously, if you're driving, listening to this or anything like that, keep your eyes on the road and come back later and put in the comments in the chat in the Facebook replay. But I do want you to take action. If you can and it's safe for you to do so, move those fingers. Okay, because I always say it, and yes, most of you that know me know I'm a little bit crazy, but I always say it that like when you actually do not just listen, the little people in your head start to sit up. So the more that you actively take part in this, and if you're watching here live, use the opportunity. And if you're watching this on the replay, use the opportunity to call it in and be accountable. Because there's huge power in actually stating what you want and stating what you say you want and getting clear. There's a difference between thinking a thought and it's wishy-washy and it's blurred because you're not even making coherent sentences and actually stopping and saying, okay, let me write this down. What do I actually want? And what does success mean for me? And what would I value? And what would I want? And then it starts becoming clearer. And then those neural pathways get stronger. And then you've done something so much more powerful than just than just listening. Does that make sense? I say it all the time. Listening is not knowing. It's not. It's just regurgitated information that you can spiel back out. There's a huge difference between wisdom, wisdom, and simply having heard something before, or maybe 10 times or 30 times, or as I like to say, the rule of 49. I just made that number up, by the way. It might be 349 times you have to hear it before it actually really sinks in. But it sinks in when we do it, not just say it or hear it. Does that make sense? Tell me that makes sense. Can you feel the difference between the moments when you have a real aha moment, when you really get it because you've experienced something? Yeah, we've all had those. We've all had those moments when we actually feel it and kind of go, nope, now I've get it. I don't know how many people I've had, on Zoom with me, private clients, or even here in person in my office, sitting on my couch, and they say, Danielle, I've heard you say that 3 million times. And it's only finally sunk in now. The way you said it this time, it just landed. And now I really get it. Now I really feel the difference. So that's what I want you to have this week. So I want this to be a really proactive week, a week where we take action, 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 not just listening. Does that make sense? Not just hearing it. Now, as I said, if you're driving, keep your eyes on the road and come back to me later and put it in the comments. But if you're watching this, does that make sense? Put in the comments and tell me that you understand the difference between taking action and just having heard something. Give me a yes if you get that. Put a yes in the comments. All of the above, awesome stuff. Being more confident. Yeah, let's go. Let's go, Yvonne. Taking action. Taking action. I have a lot to share. Yes, 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 you do. It's time to take action. Yes, 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 yes. There's a big difference. I love that. Thank you. Absolutely. Yes. So, okay. So what do I want you to get from this program? We're going to be here all week, an hour each day, and it's going to be a week of you taking steps. I want you to start to really embody what self-sovereignty means. And again, well done on stepping up. So self-sovereignty refers to the concept of having full authority and control over one's own life, right? It means being the ultimate decision maker in all aspects of your existence, from your actions and your choices to your feelings and your responses. That makes sense. And essentially, self-sovereignty is about you governing yourself without having to have without undue influence from external forces, so that you can ensure to live a life according to your own values, goals, and principles. And we're going to be talking about that today. And boundaries. Okay, so I want to ask you a question. Here's a question for you. Have you noticed any reoccurring patterns in the world, in life? Have you noticed reoccurring patterns? And this behind me here, this imagery, might be a clue as to what I'm going to talk about now. And it's all going to start to make a lot more sense. All of this is going to make a lot more sense. So have you noticed that? Give me a yes, put in the comments. Have you noticed any reoccurring patterns in nature, in plants, in your life? Yeah? Have you noticed that? Yeah? Yeah. It's a cycle, ups and downs, endings. Yes, yes. Okay. So there are sequences, right? There are patterns. There are things that bring about things, like the way two and two makes four. Does that make sense? You can't argue with that, can you? Two and two makes four, yes? We all agree, right? You're with me? Yeah? Two and two makes four, yes? So put in the comments. Do we agree with that? Do we agree with that? Yeah? Now, in the universe, in the world, in life, there are certain patterns, there's certain sequences that always result in certain results. Two and two makes four. There's stuff that happens that always results in certain results. Have you noticed these patterns in the universe, in reoccurring designs and sequences that seem to hint at an underlying kind of order? Have you noticed that? Yeah? Does that make sense? I'm going to look at your comments here. So from, like, if you look at intricate designs, for example, a little bit behind me, on a seashell, to the spirals in the galaxy, nature seems to follow a blueprint, doesn't it? Right? So, and this, if you've noticed that, if you've observed, if you've pondered on that, could there be a specific process to things? Kind of like a master plan, right? That guides us, you know, through life. How often do you see those patterns repeating in your own life, right? So in your habits, in your decision making, or even in the way that things unfold around you. So I want you to really think about that. I want you to really reflect for a moment. I want you to contemplate on that. Okay. Could these suggest a greater structure to our existence? Could these perhaps be guiding us towards a deeper understanding of our place within this vast, system? So it's funny that, it is actually ironically funny that, or is it a coincidence that 111 people registered for this course? I mean, wow. Are there coincidences or are there coincidences? Yeah. These numbers, you know, these numbers are unusual, aren't they? Isn't that unusual? Or is it just coincidence? Now, I want to talk to you about the basis of the whole idea of this program, you know, I want to share a little story with you. And this is going to all start to layer upon layer about the lessons and the tasks and the suggestions that I'm going to give this week for you to carry out, that by the end of this week, when you do these things, you are going to have self-sovereignty, which ultimately means you have 2 and 2 makes 4, the potential of having the results that you so desire in your life, because 2 and 2 makes 4. So I want to talk to you about a curve. A curve that began its journey billions of years ago, that spiraled through the vastness of space. And it was a testament to the mathematical beauty that underpins the whole universe and everything that's in it. And it arrived on Earth, embedded in the genetic codes of living organisms, in the spiraling seeds of sunflowers. If you've watched the trailer of this whole video, you're starting to get the gist of this concept, to, the majestic shells in the sea. And all of this, omnipresent is what? The Fibonacci curve. If you've seen, maybe, is it in? I think it might be in what was that book? The Da Vinci Code. Was it in the Da Vinci Code? I'm not sure. But the Fibonacci curve. Have you heard of the Fibonacci curve? Leonardo da Vinci drew and based a lot of his designs on this. And this Fibonacci curve became the blueprint from which all of life seemed to draw its inspiration. And this Fibonacci curve is shown, and we can see this in everything. We can see it in Greek temples, we can see it in the pyramids, we can see it in Roman, architecture, we see it in nature. Just going to ask you to mute you there. That's okay. So we see it in everything. We see it in nature, and we also see it in people. We see it in people. So as people started to learn about the Fibonacci curve, they started to also learn the lessons. And they began to understand that true sovereignty was not about conquering other people or other people's power, but about mastering oneself. It was about recognizing one's position in the great spiral of life and noticing that all those smaller actions could lead to significant outcomes. 2 and 2 makes 4. And that when we align our personal growth with this Fibonacci curve, we can achieve a wonderful, harmonious balance. Now, we don't just embark today on a journey of personal growth and of understanding this pattern that underlines the whole world, the Fibonacci sequence. This sequence is a series of numbers where each number is the sum of the 2 preceding ones. And this manifests through everything, through nature, through art, through everything that we see. And it's the perfect balance of mathematics and natural expression. And the reason why I'm talking a lot about this is because it's the same in our lives. The sequence of events in our lives leads us to where we are right now. And when we understand this mathematical principle, we understand the power and potency of stacking, of compounding, of developing new skills, new traits, tiny little minute, seemingly minute little tiny little steps and changes in our projection, in our trajectory that lead us to new results. And the Fibonacci curve teaches us that, shows us that, and shows us that that is the reality and that is the fact and that that is how we actually make differences in our lives and in the lives of the people. So I invite you this week to view your path to personal growth through the lens of this, we could call it ancient or always been phenomenon. Phenomenon? Non do 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 do. Phenomenon do 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 do. Can't help myself. Yeah, I know. I can't help but do that. Okay, so now that you know I'm a little bit crazy, I just want to share for those of you who may be watching this, and who haven't heard anything about me before. But my story, we could say, second part of my life, kind of, we could say nearly a rebirth, when I was 36 years of age, started with a day on sitting on the floor and telling all of my staff to go home. And that was at the age of 36. And I had just closed the doors on the last of my 3 restaurants. And I went home and very, very seriously contemplated taking my life. I nearly gave up. I nearly gave up. And that was in 2009. That was back in the crash of the Celtic Tiger. And that was actually the new beginning. That was my rebirth. And it's easy, of course, looking back now, but it was the best thing that ever happened to me. That was the day that I took the mask off. That was the day that I decided, you know what? I will show people that I'm a little bit crazy. I will sing phenomenon do 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 when I feel like it. Because if people like me the way they like me, phenomenal. If they don't, that's okay too. And when we take the mask off and really show up as our authentic selves, and as corny as that sounds, that's probably one of the key fundamental steps to having self-sovereignty. Otherwise, we're always looking for somebody else, for their validation, for their approval, etc., etc. So I read a book at the time. When we talk about coincidences, and again, there's no coincidence that there's 111 people registered for this. I read a book, and as woo-woo and as wacky as this sounds, I was down and depressed and didn't know what to do. I'd been in the restaurant business from 19 years of age, and suddenly I found myself, going bankrupt, no job, no money, had gone through a divorce, broke, every penny taken out of my account, having nothing. And I picked up a book. And when we talk about coincidences, I read a book about the power of being present, about the power of staying in the moment and learning that we can just stay present. And that gave me huge foundations, because if I would not have been ready for the next step until I'd had that first step taught to me and I'd really embodied it. And this is where I want to reiterate that it's not just about hearing this, it's about doing it. How often are you present? Just in the moment, without thinking about the past, without thinking about the future. How often are you just present? And that was the first book I read. And that gave me the ability to come back to earth, to ground myself again. Is it a coincidence? That book, many of you know this, was The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. Coincidence or not? Do, 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 do. What's the music? The music. So, and then the next book I read, again, no coincidences, was a book by Viktor Frankl, Man's Search for Meaning, which taught me that we have a choice in the space between a trigger and a response, in the space between a thought and our reaction, we have a choice about how we choose to act. That's self-sovereignty, isn't it? That's being able to lead ourselves rather than just reacting. And that was the second book I read. As a busy restaurateur, I had three restaurants and a gift shop. I had no time to read books. And the first two books that I read in that order, since I was probably a teenager, was The Power of Now, followed by Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning. What steps? What coincidental steps? They weren't coincidence, were they? The next book I read was by Paul McKenna, The Hypnotist. And I followed that by then finding out that Paul McKenna had been taught by Richard Bandler. And I started studying neurolinguistic programming. And I started to discover that there was that there's a myth, a huge myth, that 99%, not you because you're here, 99% of the planet follow this myth, that we cannot stop control our brain, that we are not the ones in charge, that something else has taken over. And yet the truth is, it's the other way around. We are the ones in control. We are the ones in charge. And I started to turn everything around, and because I did it. And again, I say this at every single program I do, and I know this is a free program for you, but I want you to really value your time. And I value your time. And so as to not make this a waste of time, I suggest you do more than just hear the information. I suggest that you contemplate on the information. It's a little bit like somebody coming for a lesson. Let's say you go to study anything, how to drive a car, how to play the piano, how to whatever, learn martial arts. You go and you do lessons. Let's say you do a private session. You go with the instructor, you learn the lesson, they give you suggestions, and then what you do after the lesson. You go off and practice it, right? You go off and practice it before you go back for the next lesson the following week. Yeah? So you don't just hear the information and go, oh, that's fine. Thank you. Bye. And you do nothing. You practice it. You do it. You embody it. You go off and practice those new skills. And that is what I want you to do. So I read a book about being present. I listened within, and I really started to discover who I was. And I read another and another, and then I did a course, right? And I learned about the difference between being and doing. Both are essential, but there is a difference. And I learned how to be, and I learned how to empower myself. And then I started to do and act and behave in a new way, and hence do new things. And this created a drive for my future life. Now, coincidence or not? What's that word? Ripley, believe it or not, believe it or not. And things started to change, and happiness and love came. And I went from homeless and bankrupt to owning my little piece of heaven in 6 years. Some of you have been to my house. It's a modest little cottage under the Black Stairs Mountain, but it's a little piece of heaven. I have an acre of garden, a lot of grass to cut, but it's heaven. It's mine. I own it outright. No one can take it from me. It's mine. Mortgage free. I paid it in one go. And I managed in 6 years to save that money. How did I do that? I went from divorced and feeling alone, and in fact, feeling unlovable, hating myself, to having the love of my life. You know, I went from feeling unworthy to valuing myself and respecting myself. Yeah. Wow. You know, if I can do it, you can do it. Right? I went from putting others first to having strong boundaries. Yeah. These are lessons that I'm still learning, and leading myself and my clients to success, whatever that means for them. And it wasn't until many years later, in fact, fairly recently, that I realized that my success was always because of what? Because of this order, this particular order, this sequence, like the Fibonacci curve, this particular sequence, these steps, this formula. There's a particular process. Listen and discover. Empower myself to be. Act in a new way and do it. And then drive myself forward into a successful future with a plan. And this is the basis of this whole week. Lead. Leading ourselves to self-sovereignty. Lead. L-E-A-D. Lead. Listen. Listen within. Discover who you are. This is today. Tomorrow is E for empower. To be. Empower yourself to be. This is the power of now, the being, the being. These are the steps. The third one is A for act. Do. What are you going to do? And the fourth one is drive into your future. And that is a particular sequence that is always the sequence. Always, always. When you do it the wrong way around, 2 and 2 will never make 5. 2 and 2 always makes 4. And if you juggle that sequence up, you won't get the results. Because many people, like me, I did it for many years, do the third part of lead. They do the A for act. They do the do. They do all the doing. Lots of doing. They do the do-do. Okay, I'm getting ridiculous now. Okay. Have you been doing the do-do all the time? Have you been doing and doing and doing the do and never been? Or never listening within? Which one are you doing first? Are you doing the doing? Are you doing the listening? Followed by the empowering, followed by the doing, following by the driving. That's the sequence. I say it over and over again. We can say it in so many different terminologies. The universe is mind which way you understand it. We can say it as in, I've said it in many, many programs, there's a difference between a poverty mindset and a success mindset. Successful people follow a formula. Poverty, people that are stuck in loops, follow the wrong formula. They try to have the thing first. They say, when I have the money, then I will feel the B part, right? Happier. And then I will do the act part. Okay, la 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 la. It's never going to work. It's the wrong formula. They're not following the code. But we keep doing it. People keep doing it. Have you seen people doing that? Yup. Are you doing it? Are you doing the do all the time and mixing up the steps? So there is a formula, and the formula is listen within, go within, empower yourself, do the be part, the being. We're human beings, not human doing. Yeah. Then we do the doing, and then we do what we call in hypnosis and NLP terms, we do the future pacing. So today is listen. I want to share a little story with you first. And the story is this. Once upon a time, are you ready for a nice little magical story? You can get the popcorn out. In the small bustling town of Willowbrook, there lived a man, and his name was Theo. And Theo was an avid collector of antiques and oddities. And his home was filled with shelves of curious items gathered from all corners of the globe. And on one sunny Saturday morning at the local flea market, Theo stumbled upon a peculiar device that caught his eye. It was a small, little, intricate machine made of brass and wood with gears and levers that kind of hinted of a complex function. but there was no clear indication of its purpose. And the seller, an elderly gentleman with a twinkle in his eye, saw Theo's interest and chuckled. It's a rare find. That one, I'm not good at accents, so I don't know what accent I'm putting on, but anyway, bet you won't guess what it's for. Arr. Maybe he was a pirate. Theo, intrigued and unable to resist a challenge, bought the device without knowing what it did. He was determined to figure it out through trial and error. Back at home, Theo tried using the mysterious device for various different tasks around the house. He thought it might be some sort of mechanical calculator. So he attempted, to use it to sum up expenses for the month. But no matter how he manipulated the levers, the numbers didn't add up. Next, he considered its age, and he wondered if it might be an old, kind of tiny coffee grinder. So he filled it with coffee beans and turned the crank, and only to have the beans jam between the gears and creating kind of horrendous mess and no ground coffee. Terrible for an Italian. And not, he wasn't one to give up easily. So he then speculated maybe it could be the type of artistic stencil machine. So he placed a piece of paper underneath and swiveled various knobs to create a design, but unfortunately all he managed to do was tear the paper with the sharp edges, of the brass gears. And each failed attempt left Theo more baffled, but increasingly amused. He realized he was kind of enjoying the challenge and the process of guessing and the laughter that each wrong guess brought. And finally, Theo decided to consult his neighbour, Mrs. Pennington. And she was a retired engineer and had a knack for gadgets. So upon seeing the device, she immediately recognized it from her childhood. Oh, Theo, this is a vintage yarn winder, she exclaimed with a smile. It's used to wind loose yarn into a neat little organized ball. My grandmother had one just like it. Theo was kind of embarrassed but relieved. He watched as Mrs. Pennington expertly demonstrated the machine's true functionality. And the gears turned smoothly and winding the yarn perfectly and efficiently, exactly as it was designed to do. And through this whole little adventure, Theo learned an invaluable lesson. While it's possible to repurpose tools and ideas, understanding their original design and intent can greatly enhance the effectiveness, can't it? He also realized that sometimes the journey to understanding can actually be as rewarding, if not more so, than the discovery itself. And from that day on, Theo not only researched his antiques before attempting to use them, but also shared the story of the yarn winder with visitors, with everyone he met, reminding everyone of the value of curiosity and the importance of a good old laugh. Yeah. So, did you know by any chance that one in 100,000, 1 in 100,000 gets to black belt? Did you know that? Huh? 1 in 100,000 people get to black belt. I remember when I got my black belt. Yeah, I was one of those 100,000. And it was only after, just like Theo, it was only after that I actually got my black belt that the true journey began. That's when it began. And I saw that it was not the destination, but the journey that counted. Leading myself was what counted. And how could I have done that? How could I be a black belt? How could I be the black belt without learning how first? Does this make sense? Like Theo's piece of equipment. How could I learn how? How could I be the black belt if I hadn't learned how? If I had not been tested, if I had not gone through adversity, couldn't have. And for me to lead others, to bring you somewhere better, different, more enhanced, for me to lead you, for me to be the bridge between what is now for you, where you are now, and where you can be and what you want. To be that bridge for you, I had to be tested. The bridge had to be tested. Bridges are leaders, and leaders are tested. I had to see what I could carry over with me under pressure. I had to see what I could handle. I had to be tested to see if my bridge would hold firm. Correct? Yeah? Does that make sense? I couldn't say, you know what? I want to be a black belt. I want to lead other people to black belt. If I was not tested first to be the black belt, in the becoming of the black belt, I could not cry out at night and say to God and say, God, can I have a better life? Can I have a nicer home, a loving partner? Can I have a wonderful coaching business where I coach people and lead people to success? Unless I could see if my bridge was strong. It had to be tested. It had to be tested. So the universe sent the tests. Go through bankruptcy. See if you can handle that. Be homeless. Go through divorce. Be alone. Go through heartbreak. Go through rejection. Go through abandonment. Go through people thinking you're a bit crazy. Go through, all the challenges that growing a successful business will bring, being self-employed, people thinking you're in a cult because you teach NLP. Go through your family ignoring you. Go through people thinking you're strange. Go through, people pushing your boundaries. Go through people challenging you. Go through difficult clients. Go through people like threatening you. Go through all that and see if your bridge can hold up. I mean, these past weeks, some of you know this, I've been tested. The last couple of weeks, again, I do not believe it's coincidence. Here I am 6 years later after being homeless, owning my home, having a wonderful, successful business, having had, really phenomenal results in life, in love, in finances, etc. But it wouldn't have come if I wasn't able to be tested and hold that test. My bridge has to be strong to be able to say, come with me, to be able to say, I've got you, to be able to say, I've got you, I can hold you, I can carry it, come with me, the bridge is strong, I'm here, baby, come on over. I had to be ready. And for that to happen, the bridge had to be tested over and over and over. If there's any engineers out here, you've got to test the bridge, right? And I was tested. No coincidence that it was coming up to this program about self-sovereignty, leading ourselves. So, 2 weeks ago, I had death threats. I had people slandering me. I had people threatening to kill me. Then I get COVID. You know, so are these coincidences or are these simply the foundations to make my bridge stronger? Yes, baby, that's what they are. That's what they're there for. They're there to show me new lessons, new steps, new strength, new capabilities. I can hold it. I can take it. It's all good. I've got it. I've got you. We can do this. We can move forward. We've learned, we've grown, we've built our muscle, we've grown stronger. That's how it works. Does that make sense? So the first test, today's lesson, is about listening and going within and getting to know ourselves. Getting to know ourselves. This is the beginning of a profound journey, if you want it to be. That starts, not in the outer world, but the within world. Just like earning a black belt. It isn't merely about the belt, but the mastery and self, awareness that's gained along the way. The way, true leadership begins by leading oneself, doesn't it? So the foundation of leadership is this, knowing who you are. So if you don't truly know yourself, if you don't know who you are, your tools, your skills, your strengths, your desires, how can you use them to your advantage? Just like Theo's wonderful yarn winder. Most of us spend our lives doing what we're told. Most of us spend our life following paths laid out by others and responding to external validation. We've learned to imitate rather than to discover who we actually are. We become humans doing, not human beings. Why? Why is that? And why it's important to know why? Because why did we become these human beings doing, not being? Now, I go into this in deep, deep, deep detail in a lot of my programs. But very simply, it's because we weren't taught to. We were not taught to. In fact, we were taught to do. We were taught to do rather than be first. We were taught that what others said, what others thought was important. We were taught to imitate. We learned to imitate, not to discover ourselves. But when we started out as babies, we started out as babies being. That's what we started out as. And then we became humans doing. We started out as the baby who knew that we were perfect with all our chubby bits, with everything. We knew we were perfect. We had no sense, no idea, no concept of not being enough, of not being good enough. But then what happened was we started to walk and fall down. And we kept practicing and we kept practicing. And then we took our first step. And guess what happened? Somebody said, "Well done. You took your first step. You're so good. You're great." And we got attention. I did good. Oh, I'll do it again. Let me do more. And then we said our first word. And someone said, "You're amazing. You're a genius. You spoke." Oh, I did. I did something. I'm good. I'm clever. I'm wonderful. And we kept doing. And then we tied our shoelaces for ourselves. "You're an absolute, my daughter is a genius. She tied her own laces. Yes, I'm a genius. I did it. I tied my shoelaces." I'll keep doing. And then we did our first exam and we did well. "You're so clever. You did it." I keep doing. I'm doing really well. I get loads of attention. I'm doing. And we received all of this outside validation. And we got all of these well dones, congratulations. So guess what? We got to like it, didn't we? And we got to need it. We got to need it. We started to need this, and we started to never look inwards anymore and always look outwards for, what do you think we should do? What do you think of this? How do I look? Does my bum look big in this? Should I do this or should I do that? What do you think of this? What do you think of that? What do you think? Is that good or is it bad? What do you think? Have you done that? That's what we started to do. And we stopped looking inwards. We continued to look outwards for outside approval. The first step to self-sovereignty is to look inwards. We want to go inwards and find our inner voice. I spent 36 years with a mask, pretending that I was okay, pretending that everything was fine because I was doing a lot, but I was never being. I didn't know how to be. I only knew how to do. I only knew how to be striving, searching, looking for the next best thing, to be bigger and better, and to pretend everything was fine, because I didn't know how to be present with myself, because I hated myself. So much like the patterns that I've spoken about at the start of today, there's an inner voice that guides us very subtly, yet very profoundly. So I want you to take just a moment, if it's safe for you to do so, to close your eyes and to just breathe deeply, just for a moment. And I want you to ask yourself, what do I truly, truly want to achieve in my life? Not what others expect. Not what others expect of me. Not what has been scripted by society, but what do you want? What do I want? What do I want? What do you yearn to manifest into your life? What do you want? Not what your parents, your children, your siblings, your partner, your husband, your wife, your brother, your sister, whoever that may be, not what they want for you. What do you want for you? What do you want to bring into your life? Really contemplate on this. And let your mind kind of wander through all those spirals of your deepest desires. And this introspection, this is the foundation. Much like the first number in our Fibonacci sequence, it's from this point that everything will grow. And this is what today is about. It's about listening inwards, not outwards. What do you want? And this might feel a little bit sticky at first. It might feel, difficult to do. I don't know what I want, really, because you haven't done it. Because you haven't done it yet. The more you do it, just like if you came down to my grass that needs to be cut, if you walked through my grass, you would leave an imprint. And if you walked through that path more and more, you would leave a stronger, bigger imprint. And eventually you would wear a big path. And it's the same with our neural pathways. And it's the same with establishing any new pattern. If you have not really contemplated on what you want, and this is quite ironic, because a lot of people say, oh, I want to be happier. And then I say to them, okay, well, what would that mean? And they say, well, I don't know. Don't really know what would make me happy. So we say we want something, but we've done it superficially. We haven't really gone there and said, okay, let me not just say it. Let me not just utter words randomly. And then keep praying to God for something, but we haven't made it clear what we want. But let's start getting clearer on what do we want. And the more that you listen inwards, and the more that you actually take action and start writing this down, and this is what I suggest that you do today. Write it down. If you want to be really brave and really call it in, put it in the Facebook group. Put it as a post. What do you want? The more detailed that you call it in, the more specific and clear you are. What do you want? Not what society expects of you. What do you actually really want? Do you just want to be loved? Do you want to feel safe? Do you want to just be sitting on a beach? Do you want to be sitting amongst your animals? What do you really want? What would make you really happy? And if you don't know, because that is a big part of it, a lot of people, by the way, come to me and say they don't know. And that's not, you're not flawed. You're very normal. It's just that we haven't been trained. We haven't been taught how to do that. And if we have not got details, if we have not got specific, it's very difficult for the little people in your head or the universe to bring it to you because they don't know either. They're kind of going, you got to be more specific. If I said I was going to meet you here today, but I didn't tell you where, and I didn't tell you a time, and I didn't give you the link, it would be kind of hard for us to get together. So it's the same with what you want. This is what I want you to do today. Not just, it's the end of the class, it's the end of the session, it's the end of the training. I put the computer away and that's the end of it until tomorrow at 1 o'clock or when you're watching this. In the kind time, as I like to say, in the next 24 hours, could you contemplate on this and get clearer? Could you really deepen those neural pathways, deepen the connection so the universe is listening and kind of going, aha, now we're getting there. Now we're getting into some specifics. Now we're not just going around the roundabout, you saying, well, I just want to get off the roundabout. Do you say, I just want to change my life. I don't want to live this way anymore. That's too vague. They're waiting. We kind of don't know which exit to take. We're going around and you're going around saying, I feel dizzy with not knowing what I want. Make a decision. Make a decision. Get clearer, get specific. The more you listen, the more you're firing those new neural pathways. Use your imagination. That's what it's for. Imagine and allow your subconscious to speak up. It'll come through that. It will come through that. That is what it's all about. Now, your imagination, as many of you know, does not know the difference between what's real or imagined. And we know that to be a fact. That is not just like fluffy talk. That is a fact. And we know that because when we dream, have you had a dream? Have you ever dreamt? Have you ever had a dreamt where you felt feelings, good or bad? Or if I dream of Vigo, I have really good dreams. And you wake up and you kind of go like, oh no, that was a dream. Can I go back to sleep now? How come the feeling stopped when you woke up? The feeling stopped because you woke up and you came back into consciousness, but your subconscious didn't know the difference. Your subconscious is very powerful. Your subconscious does not know the difference between what's real or imagined. So when we start to get very specific, this is the beginning. Now, we are going to go through phases of this. This is the building block, but we cannot miss a step. You can't skip a step. So if you're chomping at the bit to get to, day 3 or day 4, just tell me what to do for me to be happy, for me to have loads of money. Great. But have you done day 1? Have you said, okay, on day 1, I want this. I want this specifically. If you haven't done it within, it's never going to happen without. It's not going to happen. It only happens when you do it within first. So I want you to get really clearer. And it's okay to feel fumbly about this at the start. It's okay if it doesn't feel natural, if you're still kind of like, well, I don't really know if this is definitely the thing I want. Okay. Obviously just think of something that you might like. Let's build on this. Let's start to compound. Well, what could you do today to have a happier, more fulfilling, more successful life? Could you start with even just imagining what it would feel like to be the person that had that life? How would that person be? How would you be if you had what you wanted right now? How would you act? How would you carry yourself? What would change in your posture? What would change in the way you speak to yourself? What would change in your actions for the rest of today? That's what I want you to really think about. What do you actually want? Not what someone else wants, what you want. What do you want? You know, and the more, it's funny because I talk a lot about success and a lot of people say, okay, Danielle, tell me how to have a, 5-figure week, or tell me how to have a, make 100 grand this year, or all this kind of stuff. And I say, well, like, that's a byproduct. And it is. It is a byproduct. It's only going to come when you're in the right energetic state. Remember, that's the success formula. That's not the poverty mindset. The poverty mindset, give me the money first. Show me the money, and then I'll be happy. Doesn't work that way. Okay? You've got to be first. You've got to be first. And to be, you've got to listen inwards first. So today is about listening inwards. What I would like you to do is to write out in a post in the Facebook group, what do you want? What do you want, without the impositions or of anybody else's thoughts or presumptions for you? What do you actually want for your life? And what I suggest is, just to finish today, is that you do that, because otherwise, what are you doing? And I say this all the time, and I say this with respect, and I am somebody that is very much about just calling it like it is, but I'm no different than any other person. The only quality that I have that is, I know, helped me a lot in life is the fact that I'm a doer, but I will do the inside stuff as much as the outside stuff. So please, I implore you, when I close this first session today, don't just put it away until tomorrow. Think about it all day. Contemplate on it, strengthen it, write it down. Take it as the most important exercise of your life. What if you knew that you were writing a letter to God, the universe, whoever, the magical Mr. Bean, and you were writing a letter, and you knew that you could ask for, your 3 wishes, and you knew it was going to come true. You knew that what you wrote was going to come true. How would you write that list? I bet you would write that very differently than the way you were probably going to write it 2 seconds ago. Am I right, or am I right? So that is the energy that I want you to write out what you want from. Not that, oh God, just a completed task, just right, I take it off the list. Just, oh yeah, what do I want to be happy? Yeah, okay, there we go. Now I get on back to normal, back to my everyday life. I've got loads of things to do. I don't have time for this nonsense. All this fluffy, wishy stuff. I have to get back to work. You can write it that way if you want. Or you can say, well, I've just thought about it in my head. Now let's get back to work. Or you can do it like your life depends on it. Like it's your one wish, it's going to be granted. And with that energy, oh my God, this is the list. Oh, this is my list. Oh my God, this is my list. What if you wrote it with that energy? This is what I want. I guarantee you there's going to be a different energy involved. Oh, am I right? Yeah. There's a different energy when you write your list that way, because it's your time. This is your time. So I want you to write it as though you know that it's about to come true. With that feeling of, oh, let me be 100% sure what I want. Well, okay, I'd like this too. Let me put this down as well. Let me put this down as well. Since I'm on the subject, hey, since I'm on the subject, I'd like this also. I want this too. I want you to write the list like that. Okay? And notice the difference in how you feel. And then carry that energy. Act as though you're expecting it. Live as though you're expecting it to come to you. Behave that way. Think that way. Talk that way. Love that way. Interact that way with people with that energy. And see what happens to your day just by being in that energy. That's what I want you to do today. That is day one. Tomorrow we're going to go into E for empowering yourself and your decisions. And we're going to go a lot further in the steps for you developing your self-empowerment and your leadership skills and your self-sovereignty, which are the steps and the sequence for you to lead yourself to success. So I trust that you've enjoyed today, and I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Whether you're watching this live or on the replay, please put it in the chat. Let me know what your biggest takeaway is. What is your biggest aha moment, your biggest insight, your biggest learning, your biggest relearning from today that has finally hit home and is causing a difference in you emotionally, psychologically, and is going to make a difference to your life. Okay. I will look forward to seeing you tomorrow. We've got a lot of stuff to do this week. So same time, same place. I am going to be having some little special bonuses and things like that coming your way as well. So keep an eye out. If you haven't joined the Facebook group, please join the Facebook group as well. I know there's 111 registered, and I think we only have about 30 in the group. So that is where I want you to hold yourself accountable. That is where I want you to hold yourself accountable and actually put it down for yourself, not for me, for you. It's your time, it's your life, make the most of it. Let's do this. Build your bridge and make it stronger, and then you'll be able to take more onto it. Okay. I love you. I'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. And I'm going to stop this recording.